Have you ever woken up from a dream about someone who hurt you, maybe an ex, a toxic friend, or even a bully, and felt like the pain was fresh all over again? Why does your mind keep dragging them back into your sleep? And more importantly, what is your unconscious trying to tell you? Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, believed that dreams aren't just random noise, they're messages from your deepest self, revealing hidden fears, unresolved wounds, and even paths to healing. So when you dream about someone who hurt you, it's not really about them. It's about a part of you that's still seeking closure, understanding, or growth. Today, we'll explore Jung's surprising insights on why these dreams happen, and what they're secretly asking you to face. Carl Jung's revolutionary approach to dream analysis shifted the way we understand the hidden language of the psyche. Unlike Freud, who often reduced dreams to repressed sexual desires, Jung saw them as a vital bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind, a direct line to the parts of ourselves we ignore, suppress, or haven't yet discovered. He believed that dreams weren't just random misfires of the brain but meaningful communications, offering guidance, warnings, and even solutions to the conflicts we face in waking life. The unconscious doesn't speak in plain language. It speaks in symbols, emotions, and recurring themes. When we dismiss our dreams as mere fantasies, we're ignoring a profound inner dialogue, one that could hold the key to deeper self-awareness and healing. At the core of Jung's theory is the idea that the unconscious is divided into layers, each holding different aspects of our psyche. One of the most critical concepts is the shadow self, the part of us that contains everything we deny, reject, or refuse to acknowledge. These might be traits we deem unacceptable, like anger, jealousy, or vulnerability, or even hidden strengths we're afraid to embrace. When we dream about someone who has hurt us, Jung would argue that this person often represents a shadow aspect of ourselves. That ex who betrayed you, the friend who stabbed you in the back, the bully who made you feel small, they might be mirrors, reflecting back the parts of you that you've disowned. If you were deeply wounded by someone's cruelty, for example, the dream might be urging you to confront your own repressed anger or the ways you've allowed others to cross your boundaries. Another essential element in Jung's framework is the anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine energies that exist within all of us, regardless of gender. These archetypes influence how we relate to others and even how we perceive ourselves. If a man dreams about a toxic or manipulative woman, Jung might interpret this as his own unconscious relationship with his anima, perhaps signaling an imbalance in his emotional expression or unresolved issues with femininity in his life. Similarly, a woman dreaming about an aggressive or domineering man could be encountering her animus in a distorted form, revealing unprocessed experiences with power, authority, or assertiveness. These dreams aren't just about the people who appear in them, they're about the internal dynamics that shape our relationships and self-perception. Jung also introduced the idea of archetypes, universal, primal symbols and patterns that recur across cultures and individual dreams. The villain, the hero, the wise old man, or the trickster aren't just characters, they're fundamental aspects of human experience that emerge in our dreams to teach us something. When you dream about someone who harmed you, they might be playing the role of an archetype rather than representing their literal self. A former friend who betrayed you could embody the traitor archetype, pushing you to examine where you feel distrust, not just toward others, but toward yourself. A domineering boss in a dream might represent the tyrant archetype, asking you to explore where you've given away your power in waking life. This is why Jung insisted that dreams about conflict, pain, or even terrifying encounters aren't something to fear, they're opportunities. The unconscious doesn't torment us without reason. It brings these figures forward to force a reckoning. If you keep dreaming about someone who hurt you, it's not necessarily because you miss them or because they're haunting you. It's because your psyche is trying to resolve something within you, unprocessed emotions, unhealed wounds, or aspects of your own nature you've been unwilling to face. The more we ignore these messages, the louder they become, manifesting not just in dreams but in repetitive life patterns, unexplained moods, or even physical symptoms. Jung's perspective invites us to engage with our dreams not as passive observers but as active participants in our own growth. Instead of waking up disturbed and pushing the dream away, we can ask, "What is this here to show me?" The answer might be uncomfortable, but it's often the exact medicine we need. When we stop running from the shadows in our dreams, we take the first step toward integrating them, and in doing so, we reclaim the fragmented parts of ourselves that have been waiting to be seen. When you dream about someone who has caused you pain, whether it's an ex-partner, a former friend, or even a childhood bully, it can feel like a cruel trick of the mind. Why would your subconscious drag up old wounds when you're trying to move on? The answer lies in the way the psyche processes unresolved emotions. Jung believed that the unconscious doesn't operate on linear time. What we haven't fully faced in waking life lingers beneath the surface, waiting to be acknowledged. Dreams act as a pressure valve, bringing these buried feelings to light so they can finally be released. If you've ever woken up from a dream about a painful past relationship with your heart racing or tears in your eyes, it's not because you're still hung up on that person. It's because there's still emotional residue within you. Grief you didn't allow yourself to feel, anger you suppressed, or questions you never got to ask. The dream isn't reopening the wound. It's showing you where you still need to apply healing. This leads us to one of Jung's most profound concepts, the shadow. The people who hurt us often become carriers of our own disowned traits, the parts of ourselves we've been taught to reject. If someone's cruelty left you feeling powerless, dreaming about them might be your psyche's way of confronting your own repressed vulnerability or unexpressed rage. A toxic ex who manipulated you could represent your own ignored intuition, the part of you that knew something was wrong but didn't listen. Even dreams about outright abusers can sometimes reflect the dreamer's internalized self-aggression, the harsh inner critic or self-sabotaging tendencies they haven't yet recognized. This doesn't mean you're to blame for others' actions, but rather that their behavior activated something unresolved within you. The more a person triggers an intense emotional reaction, the more likely they're mirroring a shadow aspect begging to be integrated. Beyond just revisiting pain, these dreams often arrive as messengers of growth. Think of them as urgent memos from your deeper self, signaling where you need to establish firmer boundaries, where you're still giving your power away, or where you're repeating old patterns. For example, if you keep dreaming about a boss who belittled you years ago, it might not be about them at all. Your unconscious could be highlighting current situations where you're tolerating disrespect or shrinking yourself to please others. The dream is essentially asking, where else in your life does this dynamic still play out? These recurring themes don't come to punish you. They come to break cycles. The very discomfort they provoke is what propels you toward change, if you're willing to listen. Sometimes, the person who appears in your dreams serves as a symbolic stand-in for a larger life lesson. Jung understood that the unconscious speaks in metaphors, and the figures we encounter often represent universal themes like betrayal, authority, or self-worth. A dream about a backstabbing friend might really be about your relationship with trust itself, how you've closed yourself off from intimacy, or conversely, how you keep ignoring red flags. A parent who criticized you in waking life might appear in dreams as a manifestation of your own perfectionism. Even figures from ancient myths or strangers in dreams can carry this archetypal weight. The key question isn't, why am I dreaming about this person? But what force or lesson do they represent in my life right now? Consider the example of dreaming about an ex long after the relationship has ended. On the surface, it might feel like nostalgia or unfinished business, but Jungian analysis would look deeper. If this person was emotionally unavailable, Their appearance in your dream could reflect areas where you're neglecting your own needs or abandoning yourself in current relationships. If they were controlling, the dream might be highlighting where you've surrendered agency in other aspects of life. The X isn't the point, they're merely the symbol your psyche is using to get your attention. This is why simply analyzing the literal person in the dream often leads to dead ends. The real work begins when you trace the emotional thread back to yourself. What does this dream reveal about my inner world? These dreams become less distressing when we realize they're not about resurrecting the past, but about preparing us for a more conscious future. Every time someone who hurt you appears in a dream, it's an invitation to reclaim a lost part of yourself, to release what you've been carrying, or to finally learn a lesson your soul has been trying to teach you. The more courageously you face these symbols, the less power they hold over you, both in sleep and waking life. What once felt like a haunting gradually transforms into a dialogue, one where your deepest self is speaking, and all it's ever wanted is for you to listen. When these unsettling dreams emerge, the first and most powerful step is to bring them into the light of conscious awareness through journaling. Rather than letting the dream fade into the haze of morning, take time to write down every detail you can recall: the setting, the people involved, the unfolding events, and most importantly, the emotions that coursed through you. Were you consumed by rage when that toxic friend appeared? Did you feel a pang of longing when your ex showed up? Or perhaps a strange sense of detachment towards someone who once devastated you? These emotional signatures are the real clues to what your unconscious is trying to communicate. Ask yourself probing questions. Where in my current life do I feel this same emotion? What recent situations have triggered similar feelings? You might discover that the dream isn't about the past at all, but about a present-day scenario where you're replaying old patterns, perhaps tolerating disrespect at work or ignoring your own needs in a new relationship. The act of writing creates a bridge between the unconscious message and your waking mind, transforming a confusing nocturnal experience into actionable self-knowledge. Once you've identified the emotions and themes, the deeper work begins. Shadow exploration. This requires courageously facing the parts of yourself that the dream has highlighted, especially those you'd rather avoid. If you dreamed of a manipulative person, consider where you might be manipulating yourself, perhaps by talking yourself out of your own truth or convincing yourself to stay in an untenable situation. If the dream featured someone who abandoned you, examine where you might be abandoning your own values or desires. Meditation can be a powerful tool here, creating the quiet space needed to sit with these uncomfortable revelations. Simply observe what arises without judgment, anger, shame, vulnerability, and ask, what is this feeling trying to show me about where I'm out of alignment? For those who find this process overwhelming, working with a therapist trained in Jungian analysis or depth psychology can provide essential guidance. They can help you navigate these waters safely, ensuring that what emerges from the shadows leads to integration rather than re-traumatization. The final and perhaps most transformative step is reframing how you relate to these dreams altogether. Rather than viewing them as psychological ambushes or signs of unresolved attachment, begin to see them as allies in your growth, nighttime guides sent to help you evolve. When a dream about someone who hurt you surfaces, instead of spiraling into why am I still thinking about them, shift to what is this here to teach me? This subtle mental pivot changes everything. The dream becomes less about the person who appears in it and more about the part of you that's ready to heal, the boundary that needs strengthening, or the self-concept that requires updating. With practice, you'll start to greet these dreams with curiosity rather than dread, recognizing them as your psyche's way of course-correcting, pulling you back to your authentic path when you've strayed into old, self-limiting behaviors. Over time, you may even notice that as you address these issues in waking life, the intensity of such dreams diminishes. They've done their job, and like any good teacher, they step aside once the lesson has been learned. This threefold approach, journaling for clarity, shadow work for integration, and reframing for empowerment, transforms what could be a source of distress into a profound tool for self-discovery. The people who populate these dreams gradually lose their emotional charge, becoming mere symbols in your larger journey rather than ghosts from your past. You begin to develop what Jung called a living relationship with your unconscious, where dreams become less like baffling puzzles and more like an ongoing dialogue with your deepest, wisest self. And in that dialogue lies an incredible opportunity, the chance to not just understand your dreams, but to let them guide you toward becoming more whole, more aware, and more free than you were before they came. These dreams of people who have hurt us are not punishments, nor are they signs that we're stuck in the past. They are, at their core, urgent messages from our deepest selves, calls to heal what still aches within us, to reclaim what we've disowned, and to grow beyond our old wounds. What initially feels like a painful revisit is actually your psyche's courageous attempt to finally process what couldn't be faced in the light of day. Each appearance of that ex, that toxic friend, or that childhood bully in your dreamscape isn't about them. It's about you, your healing, and your becoming. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Have you ever had a recurring dream about someone who hurt you? What emotions did it bring up, and what do you think your unconscious might have been trying to tell you? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else understand their own dreams better. As we close, let's reflect on these powerful words from Carl Jung. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Those nighttime visitations from people who've wounded us aren't random. They're invitations to bring what's hidden into awareness, to transform our pain into wisdom, and to ultimately take the reins of our own lives. The next time you wake from such a dream, remember, it's not a haunting from your past, but a roadmap to your future wholeness.